Okay, sorry guys, I'm a little frazzled from my bananas children. Okay, so today is day 1 of a series. So this idea came a little bit from some of the questions that we got last week, right before I jumped off and Abuna took over. There was a bunch of questions about how do you fall in love with him? Like we talked about how love is a motivator and it motivates staying committed. So how do you start the process by which you fall in love with him? So we figured last week we're going to ask you guys to challenge yourselves and to continue the momentum. And so we're going to pick up from there and take this as our challenge. Our challenge over the next 4 weeks is that we're going to learn how to fall in love with him. Some of us will be falling in love with him for the first time, and that's great, and it motivates so great, your first love. So some will be falling back in love, also great. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to walk along at the same time as St. Peter. So we're going to map out St. Peter's relationship with Christ and how his relationship with Christ deepened and what the steps were. And then we're going to try and do that at the same time. So at the end of each session, we're going to try to challenge you guys to do something different for the next week to sort of help you start falling in love, and we're going to see where it goes from there. So this is going to be sort of our themed verse. I'm going to be pulling this up often. It's something that I came across in Deuteronomy earlier, which I love. You guys can read it. I don't need to read it for you, right? I like that it's Old Testament because a lot of the times when they talk about, love and things like that, it's very centered around the New Testament, which is fair. But I love that this is the Old Testament because the love between the Old and the New stayed the same. Maybe the delivery was a little bit different, but the love was the same. Okay, so, and last week we talked about sort of our stepwise approach or our strategy for how we're going to do this. So if you remember when we talked about what's the plan stand, the first thing to do is to select your challenge. And so for the next 4 weeks, our challenge is going to be to fall in love with him and to really commit to falling in love with him. Not just to say it, not just to do it half-heartedly, but we're going to try and commit to falling in love with him. All right. So when I was preparing this talk, honestly, some of you guys might know me and my relationship goals, the kind of stuff. And I really felt like as I got through the discussion that I was giving a dating talk or I was giving a relationship talk. And, I was kind of telling my husband, I don't know if this is going in the right direction. And his response was, well, that sounds like the right direction to me. Is if this is the only physical relationship that we can use to make an analogy, then why not? And he was right, but this is going to sound a little bit relationshipy. So if you think about any normal relationship, any human relationship, how do they all begin? There's always something that catches your eye, whether it's an action that the person did, or you're in a service with them, or you had a conversation with them that you hadn't previously had before and that piqued your interest, or an interaction with them and that piqued your interest, or somebody told you something about them that you didn't know already and that piques your interest. There's always something. There's always something that catches your eye, something that makes you aware of that person, something that makes you notice that person when you're in a big room and previously you didn't notice them, something that draws you in right away. And for everybody, that's going to be different. But it's no different in your relationship with God, except he's the one who's trying to catch your eye. He's the one who's trying to get you to notice him. And he's the one that's hoping that you're going to look in his direction and make eye contact. But sometimes we're not sensitive to that. So we don't see how he's trying to catch your eye, or we don't see how he's trying to get you to notice him. But is he? He is, very much, because you may not know that you love him yet, but he knows that he loves you. And he knows that he loves you so much and more than anything. And he's just trying to get you to look at him or to notice him so that you can start that relationship. But does his love exist already? Yes. And is he pursuing you? Yes, he is. So we're going to walk with St. Peter. I'll just give you a little bit of a disclaimer. Everybody who's been coming to OnRoute knows that my story in the Bible is Elijah. I love Elijah, okay? Elijah is my number one. Number two, St. Peter. It is no coincidence that they share some of the same personality traits. They're both a little sassy, which I love. St. Peter was very outspoken. He was a personality, and you'll see as we go through it. But what do we know about him before he met Christ? So his name was actually Simon, which means he has heard. Peter was the name that Christ gave him, but that wasn't his birth name. He was a fisherman by trade. He had a brother named Andrew, and he was married. That's all we know about him right when we meet him. I picked St. Peter because St. Peter is a guy who messes up a lot. And to me, that makes him feel normal. It makes him feel attainable. It makes him feel like a real person. And the beauty of using St. Peter as the example is that he was a real person who fell in love with Christ and who deepened his relationship with Christ, even through his ups and downs. And if you go through the journey of St. Peter in the Gospels, he has a lot of ups and downs. There are a lot of things that he probably shouldn't have said the way he said them, or a lot of mistakes that he made that he regretted instantly. So he's just a normal guy. That's why I chose St. Peter. But God takes his averageness, God takes his impatience with people, and God makes him into something beautiful because God loved him. He took his averageness, he took his shortcomings, he took his mistakes, he took everything because he loved him. And the question here is not his love for us. Like, we want to start this talk off by laying the foundation that there is no question that he loves us. His love for us is the constant. The question here is our love for him. And St. Peter is a great example of somebody who took some time before he got to that point. So what I'm trying to do is to map out, in terms of a timeline, what happened in St. Peter's relationship with Christ. So I struggle quite a bit with the chronological order of events in the gospel. My husband has a chronological Bible, which is hugely helpful because it helps put the conversations and the discussions in context. So what we did is we sort of mapped out St. Peter's relationship with Christ in terms of a timeline. So what happened first, what happened second, what happened third, like what was his relationship with him when this conversation happened versus how much did he know him when this conversation happened. So we're going to map it out from beginning to end. So this session today is just about the initial encounters. It's not when they're deeply in a relationship, when they know each other, when they're familiar with each other. It's just about the initial encounters and what happens between St. Peter and Christ, and how does St. Peter enter into communion with Christ? How does he enter his inner circle? How does he become one of his disciples? How does he start that deep relationship that he had with Christ? Because we all know the end of the story, that St. Peter was very loved, and St. Peter was inner circle, and St. Peter was there when most other disciples were not there. He was part of a close, intimate circle. So what started that relationship? Because that's where we want to be, is we want to be part of that inner circle. We want to be one of those people that is on the ins with Christ. So how did St. Peter get there? What did he have to do to move from they just met to inner circle? So I've mapped it out in terms of verses, and we're just going to go through the verses. So the first one that we have here is from the Gospel of St. John. Can I get somebody to read it? Volunteers? Anyone want to unmute themselves and do it?
Hey, Sarah, I'll just do it.
Thank you.
All right. Again, the next day, John stood with two of his disciples and looked at Jesus as he walked. He said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. Then Jesus turned and, seeing them following, said to them, "What do you seek?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which is to say, when translated, teacher, "what are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and see." And they came and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. One of the two who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Now when Jesus looked at him, he said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Caiaphas," which is translated as stone or a rock.
So the reason I grayed out the bottom is because there is some like historical text that say that there was a lot of time that passed between 41 and 42. That 42 was not immediately after 41, that there was a period of time that passed in between, and then that happened later. So that's why I grayed it out. To be honest, it doesn't really matter how far after 41 it happened. But anyways, we'll get to that later. So what happened in this encounter? What do we know that happened? Okay. Not much. Okay. Andrew is the one who's interested. Andrew is the one who's pretty excited to tell Peter about Christ. Andrew had already spent the day with him, and Andrew is the one who's convinced. Andrew is the one who believes. He was the enthusiastic one, but Peter, not so much. He doesn't appear to be too interested. You know, he's a little apathetic, like, okay, great. Like, he's not sold. Andrew just mentions Christ to Peter, but Peter doesn't have his own personal experience. He's just somebody that he's heard of. Okay. What's our equivalent? Okay. Let's say when I'm trying to deepen my relationship with Christ, you know, they're announcing a new speaker is coming to church. Okay. Somebody new that you don't know is joining your Eritrean service. Okay. When I first met my husband, we used to serve in an Eritrean church, and like, you know, they were from Mississauga. We were not from Mississauga. We were from the east. And, you know, someone was texting me and saying, oh, we're having these new guys who are going to come join the service. Well, okay, that's great. Like, very, very apathetic. There's not much happening here. Peter just hears a mention of him and now recognizes the name because his brother has said so, but not much is happening. But what's Christ doing here? He's planting the seeds. Okay. He's trying to create the opportunity to have a conversation. He's finding mutual friends, finding a mutual setting, finding some means where he can get Peter's attention. It's the same thing in like when you're in that awkward phase before you start talking to somebody. You've noticed them. Okay. There's something about them that catches your eye, and now you're trying to make opportunity. Now you're going to the same grad meetings, or, you know, a friend of yours is also a friend of theirs and they mention you to that person or whatever, but you're trying to find a way to make a mutual situation happen. Okay. That's what Christ is doing here. He is planting the seeds. Andrew, okay, while I'm sure a great guy, didn't end up being one of the main characters here. Like, everybody knows that St. John the Beloved and St. Peter were the inner circle. Andrew's great. Andrew's okay. Okay. He's fine. But Christ was trying to get to Peter. He was trying to find Peter. I'm sure that Christ had every intention of also getting Andrew, but Andrew didn't need to be sold. Andrew was in, like, full force from the first time he heard him. But St. Peter needed some convincing. So he's planting the seeds. He's trying to find a mutual situation where, like, he can get him into a conversation. Okay. Okay. So, next encounter. Can I get someone to read? Sorry, before I get someone to read, what I want you guys to do as we go through these encounters is figure out what that looks like in your life. If it's already happened or if you're waiting for it to happen, okay? When I was younger, okay, and the first time that I could really say that I started to deepen my relationship with Christ, like, just for those of you who don't know me, okay, like, I've never left the church. I grew up in the church my whole life. I've been serving since a young age. Like, I was your, like, you know, normal church kid, no issues, no doubting in the church, etc. But I can't say that I loved God until very late in life, very late, after years and years and years of service. I can't really say that my relationship morphed into more than just obedience and, you know, reading the Bible surface level until much later in life. Okay. And I can tell you exactly when it happened. Okay. And when it happened, there was a first encounter like this. Okay. One of my best friends mentioned, I used to go to York, mentioned that there was a speaker who was coming to York. Okay, great. Oh, it's somebody that we've never heard, and apparently he's really great. Okay. And my reaction was like, okay, that I'm apathetic. Like, I'm down to go because I would like to socialize and get away from studying, but am I going to learn anything? No. Am I going to meet this speaker particularly? No. Am I probably going to remember the speaker's name by the end of the talk? No. I was apathetic. But it was mentioned. And so the next time someone talked about it, now it's familiar. Okay? Okay, I'll get someone to read this encounter. Any takers?
Hello. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Then he said to them, "Follow me."
Sorry.
It's okay. "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They immediately left their nets and followed him. Matthew 4:18-20. And as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Then Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." They immediately left their nets and followed him.
Okay, so first we have Andrew introducing the name of Christ to his brother Peter. Okay, apathetic. Then we have this. What happens here? Okay, and I want you to read this in context. So St. Peter has never met him yet. Okay, he's never met him. He doesn't know anything about him. All he knows is that his brother mentioned him once. It's like somebody telling you, "Oh, hey, do you know so-and-so?" And your answer is no. And that's it. Okay, so now Jesus walks by, okay, and sees them and tells them, "Follow me." Not just follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. What is that even? Like, what is that? Okay. From Peter's perspective, okay, this guy who he's heard of from his brother, who his brother seems to be raving about, just drops him a one-liner. It's cryptic, okay? He doesn't know what that means. Like, what does that mean? Fishers of men. Like, he's a fisherman. He doesn't fish people. He fishes fish, okay? And this guy drops this one-liner as he's walking by and says, "Come with me," okay? He's intrigued because he's heard of this guy now, and this is an odd thing to say, and he's interested enough to ask some follow-up questions, okay? Think about this in the context of, a worldly relationship where you're somebody, you're at a mutual event and you have a conversation with somebody that was interesting, okay? Or in my example, a speaker who you were not really interested in caught your attention. Somebody like me who's not good at listening to sermons, who has a very, very short attention span, somebody was able to hold my attention, okay? Mildly interested, not too invested, okay? You're interested enough to ask questions. You're interested enough to put your phone down and actually listen, okay? You're still not invested, okay? You're still not sold, but you'll ask some follow-up questions, okay? What's he doing? He's initiating conversation. He's breaking the ice. He's reaching out. He's coming to you. He's trying to get your attention. He's approaching you, okay? In every relationship talk I've ever given, okay, I have encouraged people to be bold, okay? Be bold and go. If there's somebody that you're interested in, go and talk to them. Go and initiate a conversation with them. Go and say something. Go and find a common ground to start somewhere, okay? This is what he's doing with St. Peter. He's initiating the conversation. He's trying to do something to now get Peter to put a face to a name. He's trying to do something to now get Peter to recognize him, acknowledge him, come into conversation with him. Okay? He's initiating. He's starting the pursuit. What is that to you? Okay? What is he trying to do in your life to break the ice and to reach out to you? What is he trying to do? What's he trying to do to get you to notice him? Maybe it's, a sermon title that looked interesting, but you kept scrolling, okay? Maybe it's a sermon from an online liturgy, but you were not really listening because you were in bed, okay? What is the one-liner that he's subtly trying to drop to get you to notice him, to get you to be interested in him? Because it doesn't have to be this smack you in the face, okay? If we're talking about a worldly relationship and somebody that you don't know approaches you and says, "Hey, I love you," nobody's going to respond well to that, okay? Nobody is going to be like, "Sames, Okay? He's breaking the ice. He's trying to slowly get you to notice him. He's trying to slowly get you to come into a relationship with him. Okay? He's trying to tell St. Peter that there is more here, but I need you to notice me. I need you to catch me. And in our lives, sometimes these things are so easy to miss. The one-liners, like what he's trying to do to get you to just notice him, to get you to look at him, to get you to just like pay attention to him. Okay? Like, you know, when you're in a room and there's somebody that you're interested in or somebody that you like or whatever, you might not be talking to them, okay? But you always know where they are. You're always aware of where they are relative to you, okay? And like, you know, if they start to look in your direction, you look right away to see if you're going to make eye contact. That's what he's trying to do. He knows where you are. He sees you in the room, and he's trying to find a way to get you to turn and look at him, to make eye contact with him. Okay? That's what he's trying to do. The problem is we are not looking. We're not looking. Like, before you fall in love with him, in your day-to-day relationship with him, you're not looking. Okay? So you could be doing your quiet time in the morning or whatever it is that makes you feel that you have a deep relationship with him. If you don't, whatever. Okay? But then your day starts. Okay? Like, take me as an example. Then my day starts. Okay? I do my whatever. That's now compartmentalized in my box. Okay? And then I go to work. And when I'm at work, I am at work. I have a very busy job. It's extremely stressful at the moment, and I am just at work. Okay? I'm not looking for what he's trying to show me while I'm at work. I'm not looking for the little things that he's doing to catch my attention while I'm at work. There are, when I think back now, even to last week, 1,000 things, okay, that he is trying to do. 1,000 situations that he tried to, you know, get his hand in. 1,000 situations where he tried to get me to acknowledge that he is there, okay, that he's dropping me a one-liner 1,000 times, but I'm not looking. I'm at work, and I put him in my morning box. I'll revisit it in the evening. Right now, I'm at work. Part of your tactics or part of your strategic plan in order for you to fall in love with him is to look for him. Look for where he is trying to reach out to you. Look for where he's trying to get you to notice him. Because how like heartbreaking is it for us to think that he's trying to get our attention and we're not paying attention to him? Think about like just a normal relationship, okay? If you are watching this like on a movie screen, okay? And the poor guy is like trying and trying and trying and trying, and the girl is not even noticing it. Okay, you would feel for that person, that guy in the movie who's trying so hard to get this girl to notice him. You would feel for him and you would sympathize with him. Now imagine that's him. He's trying to pursue you. He's trying to grab your attention. We have to look. We have to look and try and see what his one-liners are. Where are they? Because I promise you, they are there in your life every day, morning to night. There are the little things that he is trying to do to get you to notice him. What are they? Okay, next encounter. So far we have Andrew has introduced him, like sort of, like made mention of him, and then he actually meets him, and Christ drops a one-liner and says, "Come with me." And he says, "Okay, I'll ask some follow-up questions." Okay, not invested, not in a relationship. Okay, haven't even like if we're gonna make this analogous to a dating relationship, have not even been out on a date. Okay, this is the initial conversation that you had at the grad meeting. That's it. Okay, nothing more than that. Okay, can I get someone to read this encounter?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Now, when Jesus had come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother lying sick with a fever. So he touched her hand, and the fever left her. And she arose and served them. Now, as soon as they had come out of the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew, with James and John. But Simon's wife's mother lay sick with a fever, and they told him about her once. So he came and took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the fever left her, and she served them. Now he arose from the synagogue and entered Simon's house. But Simon's wife's mother was sick with high fever, and they made request of him concerning her. So he stood over and rebuked the fever, and it left her. And immediately she arose and served them.
Okay. So when I have like many references from different gospels, it's because this is the same account of the same event. Like they're out of order relative to the gospels, but they are in order. Like the previous examples are all earlier than Matthew 8, for example. Okay. So what happens here? So Peter now recognizes this guy, recognizes his name, and has at least had a conversation with him. Okay. And then somebody in his household is unwell, his mother-in-law. Okay. What is Peter's perspective of this event? Okay. He helped Peter's family. Great. He did something amazing. And now, instead of Peter being, mildly interested, not too invested, he is definitely interested. Okay. He is definitely wondering who this person is and what is going on, because he did something amazing. He did something for his family. He did something like to help Peter's household. Like it doesn't say that, she was dying. Okay. So he didn't raise her from the dead. He didn't do like the drastic things that he's going to do later in the Gospels, but he did something. Okay. He touched her hand and the fever left her. She was really sick and he made her better. She was really sick and he did something subtle. Okay. Because he's not like moving mountains here yet. Okay. He did something subtle, but he did it for Peter and his household. What is our equivalent of that? Okay. Somebody who's interested in you does a gesture. Okay. You were sick and they brought you soup. Or you left your car light on in the church parking lot and they helped you boost your car. Or whatever. Okay. For me with Rami was very into like the grand gestures at the beginning. And so like it was like date 4 or something, date 3 or something like that. I don't know. And he brought flowers. Okay. Because it was my half birthday. Like some gesture that shows that he's interested. Okay. Some gesture that shows that this relationship is going to be more, or that I want it to be more. So first he's trying to like get himself introduced to you. Okay. Then he's trying to get you to notice him by dropping these one-liners, and then a gesture. Okay. Then something for you, the same way he did something for St. Peter, as a gesture to show St. Peter that this is more. Okay. This relationship is more. And I just want to frame this correctly. Okay. He's starting to show Peter how he feels about Peter. Okay. Because the question here is not, does Christ love Peter? Christ loves Peter. Okay. The same way he loves us, he loves him. And the verse that always gets me is, even though Peter thinks that they just met, okay, and Peter thinks that this is somebody that he's just been introduced to, that's not true. If you look at Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. Okay. This is about Jeremiah, but this is about everybody. Okay. Peter thinks that they have just met, but they haven't just met. Before Peter was even born, Christ saw him, Christ knew him, and Christ loved him. Okay. This is love at first sight, kind of. Okay. It's love at Peter's first sight, because this is Peter's first time. Okay. But this is not Christ's first time. And it's the same thing with us. He knows us. Okay. This is not, we hope that by the end of this 4-week series, you will have fallen in love with him. But that falling in love is a process that's happening on your side, because he is already in love. He already loves you. He already knows you. He doesn't need to get to know you, because he already knows everything. Because before you were born, I sanctified you. Before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. He knows that. But now what he's trying to do is show St. Peter that this could be something really great, because that this could be something that has potential, that this could be the start of a deep relationship. And that's the same thing if you think about, like, in your head, like a dating relationship where, somebody makes a grand gesture that signals to the other person, I want more. I'm not into casual. Like I'm defining the relationship. Like I want more. This means more to me than something on the surface level. And it takes a gesture. It takes some sort of action for us to see that. Something that will really give you pause. Something that is thoughtful, something that is kind, something that is considerate. And that's what he's doing for St. Peter. It's not just a mention. It's not just a conversation. Now it's a gesture. Now it's more. What is he trying to do for you? Okay. What was the gesture? Okay. I promise you that this has probably already happened. Okay. Because what we don't realize is that he is constantly in pursuit of us. Okay. So I promise you that some version of this has already happened in your life. Okay. And whether you brushed it off or whether you didn't notice it or whether, you weren't in a place where you were ready to be in a relationship, okay, with him, okay, whatever. And if you can think back and remember those gestures, it's not too late. Okay. If you don't remember or you didn't notice it, this gesture is coming. Okay. It is coming. Because he is constantly in pursuit of you. And maybe this talk is the mention. I hope. I don't know. Okay. Maybe this is the mention. And maybe now is the point where we're going to start looking for the gestures. Okay. And the gestures are just like this. Okay. Something that worked out that wasn't supposed to work out. Something that worked out that was so stressful. Okay. Something that, you were gunning for. And in the end, he made it work better than you thought it was going to work. Something for you, something kind, something compassionate, something like when Elijah was throwing a tantrum and he gave him food and he gave him water and he gave him everything, something that shows how he feels about you. Because like I said, this is not a question of how he feels about you. This is a question of, have you noticed how he feels about you? Do you know how he feels about you? Are you seeing what he's trying to do? Are you seeing how he's trying to tell you that he wants to be in a relationship with you? Is he leaving like metaphoric flowers at your door? What is that? What is that in your life? What happened this last week, this last month, this last whatever that was him trying to do a gesture to get you to notice him? What is it? Okay, next encounter. Can I get someone to read?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the multitudes from the boat. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, "Launch out into the deep, and let down your nets for a catch." But Simon answered and said to him, "Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net." And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats, so that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord."
So I love St. Peter. Love St. Peter, okay? And this is like the first, for me, introduction of his personality, okay? If you look at verse 5, but Simon answered and said to him, "Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing." Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. You don't need to sass him while you're doing it, okay? But this is St. Peter. Like, I have a whole document, like in a talk from something else, about all the impulsive, like, rash things that Peter said that he ended up having to take back and apologize for because he has sass, okay? Like, and he always takes it back, okay? Like, good on him, but he has sass, okay? So what happened here, okay? Peter knows who he is. Peter has met him, okay? Has had a conversation with him, and now Christ has done a grand gesture. Christ has done something to show Peter that this relationship is going to be more, okay? That this is not a surface level thing, okay? And then this. like the fever with the mom is probably a miracle, okay? But, maybe not like this dramatic miracle, okay? Maybe like, rationalized, or it's able to be rationalized by somebody who doesn't want to believe it's a miracle. Fine, okay? And then this, okay? They were out all night, they were exhausted, they were tired, and he says, okay, try now. And out comes the biggest catch they've ever had, okay? Out comes their like income for the next, whatever, 3 months, okay? What happens? Peter starts to see a glimpse of who he really is, okay? He starts to see that this is somebody that he wants to be around, okay? He starts to see little glimpses of what Christ has been trying to show him the whole time, or what Christ has been trying to introduce to him subtly and gently the whole time. He starts to see like little like bits and pieces of the glory, and little bits and pieces of the magnitude of love. And I'm sure even St. Peter, who walked with him, still cannot comprehend like the depths and all that stuff of his love, okay? But he starts to see like little things that make him really stop and think about what this is becoming, okay? What's our equivalent, okay? All of a sudden, this person who you've been, whatever, conversing with, or does something or says something, or, something about their personality is revealed that really like resonates with you. Like really like something about this person that you didn't know, something that warms your heart, and there's a change in the way you look at them. Because after this, you can see that there's a change in the way St. Peter looks at Christ. There's a change in the way he approaches him. There's a change in the way he talks to him. There's a change in his like dedication and his devotion and his like focus on Christ. Something changed, okay? And in a worldly relationship, all of a sudden you're excited. Maybe you're a little scared, but all of a sudden your phone beeps and it's the person and you're excited, okay? Or, you walk into a room and you didn't know that they were going to be there, and they're there and you're excited because now something about this person has changed your perspective of them, okay? I can tell you with Rami, I can tell you the exact like day that it happened, okay? Like we had been on 3 dates, 4 dates, 5 dates, my memory is getting foggy, and we were both serving separate churches, okay, at the kids convention. And I didn't realize that he does the plays and all that stuff because, again, like, mildly interested, not very invested, okay? And then we were sitting there with the kids, and then he gets up. And I don't know what it was, if it's like how good he is with kids or what it was, but all of a sudden, I saw him in a new light. Like all of a sudden, my perspective of him just kind of like shifted. It's like you're wearing like glasses and like they're blurry, and then all of a sudden, like the picture clears. Okay, or like when you're at the optometrist and they have the two things, is it, and then 1 or 2, which one is clearer? 1 or 2, which one is clearer? 1 or 2, and all of a sudden they put them both down, and that's your prescription because you can see the eye chart clearly. That's what happened here. Okay, with St. Peter, all of a sudden he's starting to get a better idea of who he is, and now he's in. Okay, what is that for you? Okay, I can tell you exactly what it was for me. I can tell you, like, I can track back dates, okay, where there was something that he did that was impossible, okay, some situation that was impossible, okay, and out of his love, out of his mercy, okay, he walked me out, okay, like out of his like just like straight from his heart, okay, walked me out. What is he trying to show you? Okay, he has your attention. Okay, we're hoping that after this and after walking through St. Peter that he has your attention. We're hoping that after Lent, okay, and the Holy 50 and all the things that you learned about him during Lent, and all the things that we saw during Lent, and all the the manifestations of his love that we saw during Lent, we hope that he has your attention. Okay, now what is he trying to get you to see? Okay, he's showing you his cards. He's showing you with this point that he loves you. He's in. He's committed. There is no like playing games here. There is no like, oh, he texted, I have to wait 6 hours and then I text him back, I want to be too eager. There is none of that. Okay, he's eager. He wants to talk to you. He wants to be in a relationship. He wants to move your relationship to the next level. This is what he wants. Okay. He's showing his cards. He's being transparent. Okay. Can you see that though? Can you see that? Because it started as an introduction and then a one-liner and then maybe an act of service. And if you're still not there, you're still not seeing it. Okay. What is this? What is this like? This thing that he did for you. What are your fish? Okay. What is the equivalent in your life of the catch? Okay. The thing that was impossible, the thing that you were hopeless about, the thing that like you were despairing about because you had already written it off as a failure, and he brought it back and he fixed it. And he took something that was close to your heart and he took something that meant so much to you and then he gave it to you. And then he said, here for you, because I love you. Here for you, because I want you to see who I am. And I want you to see like the lengths that I will go for you. If you would just notice me, if you would just look in his direction. Like I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and my daughter's love language is gifts. Me too, if anybody's interested. Okay. And so we have like a magnet system and a reward chart and all that stuff. And I always have like a big bag of stuff that when she, does her chores and her 5 magnets and it's time for a reward, that I have something to hand out for her. And I like replenish it every so often. But I always have something. And then yesterday she found it. She found my stash. Okay. And so she's like, Mama, what's this? And she picks the bag up and I'm running and I'm grabbing it from her. I'm like, Millie, you can't see that. And she's like, why not? I'm like, because this is your bag of surprises that mommy goes into to get you, a surprise when you get your 5 magnets and when you're doing really well. And she said, all of that is for me? And I said, yes, not all at the same time. Okay. But all of that is for you because mommy loves giving you surprises. Mommy can't wait when there is a situation where I can give you something because I love when you're happy and I love when you're a good listener and you're this and you're that. And mommy always wants to give you surprises. She's just waiting for you to do something to get a surprise. And she said, Mama, you really love me. I do. I really do. Not because I have a bag of like books or whatever, but I do. And I'm not sitting here waiting for her to screw up so that I can give her consequences. It's the opposite. I'm sitting here like waiting and like counting all the good things that she did so that I can give her more, so that I can give her surprises and I can give her books and I can see like how happy she is. That's what he is with us. He's not waiting for you to screw up. He's waiting to love you. He's waiting to give you more. He's waiting for the opportunity that you have to create to have a conversation with him and to have a relationship with him. He's just waiting. Like his love is already there. It's been there since before you were born. He knew exactly what you look like. He knew exactly what you're going to be. He knew exactly what your flaws were, what your qualities are. He knew all of that. And he loved that before you were born. This version of you right now, he loved that way before you were born. And he's just waiting. He's just waiting for you to look in his direction, to notice him, to say something to him, to give him the opportunity to pull out his bag of surprises and like give you physical like examples of his love. Let's not talk about the crucifixion and the resurrection. We're not there yet. Okay. We're going to talk about this like this is a new relationship. We're not there. Okay. We're not ready to like comprehend that magnitude of love. When you start dating somebody right in the beginning, you don't use the L word. Okay. Because they're not ready. Okay. This is us right now. Forget that. Let's talk about the day-to-day things. Let's talk about the little things. Let's talk about the things that he's trying to do to show you how much he loves you. Okay. The things that he's trying to do to show you that this relationship could be something, and this could be something great. If you just look at him, if you just notice him. Okay. Next encounter. Can I get someone else to read this? Any takers?
I shall.
Thank you.
Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter. Luke says, Simon, whom he also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew. John says, And he brought him to Jesus. Now when Jesus looked at him, he said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas," which is translated a stone or a rock.
So like the sequence of events is that this like 42 happened later than John 1, like 1 to 40, which is why I had it grayed out in the other one. Because it's a little bit confusing. But in terms of the sequence, like the chronological order of events, okay, so we have Peter's been introduced, okay, cryptic one-liner, okay, come and follow me. His mother-in-law is feeling better, fever's gone. The miracle of the fish, okay? And then he gives him a name. Nickname, maybe? Gives him a name. What happened here? Peter not only starts to see Christ in a new light, he now is starting to see how Christ sees him, okay? Let me rephrase that. So he sees Christ in a new light. That happened in the last encounter, okay? And all of a sudden, like his perspective shifted and he could see that this is something big and this is something real, okay? But now he's starting to see how Christ looks at him, okay? He's starting to see the love. He's starting to see like the relationship, like the depth of the relationship. And he nicknames him, not nickname, but he gives him a new name that esteems him, okay? That brings him up, that makes him more, that like shows Peter that Christ sees his potential, right? That he's more like when you think about it in the context of a relationship, it's like the first time, you know, the person compliments something about you, or the first time the person notices something about you that was previously an insecurity, but is actually something that they like about you, okay? He makes Peter feel better about himself. Peter is better when he's with him. He does that, okay? And whenever people talk to me about like, well, how do I know that this relationship is going in the right direction and blah, blah, blah. Do you feel better about yourself when you're with that person? Because Peter does, okay? And I can tell you from my own relationship with Rami, like all the things, I have insight about myself, okay? Like one of the things that I don't lack is insight into my shortcomings. I can tell you them all. I can list them for you. No problem, okay? My husband, bless him, okay? Still, I mean, I'm sure he sees some of them now, but like still all those things about myself that I know are wrong and I know that need to be fixed and worked on, he somehow like frames them into a positive thing, okay? Like I'm obnoxious. No, you're an advocate. Oh, okay, that's a really nice way of saying it. And my husband makes me feel better about myself. I don't come away from an interaction with him feeling down on myself or feeling more insecure or feeling I feel like better. And over the course of our marriage, like even though I tell him like, you know, he's on crack, like I see sometimes what he sees. Like, you know, like I always joke about like, oh yeah, you're way out of my league and all that kind of stuff. And he does the same thing because like, I really believe it, but he really believes it too, which is mind-boggling because he's Rami. But he really believes that. He really believes that he like won. Okay. This is what Christ is doing for Peter. He's making him feel better about himself because all of a sudden he's showing him how he views Peter. Okay. He's showing him like the potential that Christ sees. He names him a rock. And back then, what your name means was had a great effect on the way your life would turn out. And so he renames him. He renames him, like, first of all, it's an act of intimacy, right? That he like has the audacity to rename him. Like it's not like I don't meet somebody for the first time and then they give me a nickname. Like that's weird. But it's first an act of intimacy that now they are in a place together where he can do that. And then the name he gives him is something that brings him up, that brings him higher, that shows Peter, like, I know how you see yourself and you see yourself here, but this is how I see you. Okay. This is what I know you can become. This is what I know you are. And Peter feels better about himself when he's with Christ. And now, like, Peter starts to really like get into this, and he's actively following him, and he's running towards him, because who doesn't want to be around somebody who makes themselves feel better? Like, who doesn't want to be around somebody who makes you come away from that interaction feeling better about yourself, or feeling like motivated, or feeling like you have potential, or that you can do things, or that your life is going to be better now that you're with this person? Like, who doesn't want that? Like, who doesn't want to be around somebody who makes them feel better about themselves? Christ is showing Peter the potential that Christ sees. And it's the same thing in you, okay? He sees positive qualities. He sees greatness. He sees like your potential to the nth degree. He sees all the good things about you. He's not in denial about your bad things. He's not. But he takes you as you are. He takes you as you are, and he loves you. And he loves you anyways. And he does that thing where all those things about yourself that you hate, and all those things about yourself that you think are terrible and unlovable and whatever, he takes those and he says, are you kidding me? This is what I love the most about you. Are you kidding me? I love that you, whatever your thing is, okay? I love that you're obnoxious. I'm going to use that. I'm going to make that into something great. He takes Peter. I love that you're impulsive. What people criticize you for that? I love that about you. Look what I'm going to do with how impulsive you are. You're hasty with your words. I love that about you. Look at the things that you're going to accomplish with your words. And that's what he is to you. That's what he's trying to do to you. All those things about yourself that you hate, those are the things about you that he loves, that he sees like the potential in, because he knows who you are. He knows your shortcomings. He knows your mistakes and your predisposition to do X, Y, and Z. He knows that. But he loves you anyway. And he sees you anyway. And he sees the potential that you have anyway. And he sees the things in you that he wants to accomplish, because he has found you good and beautiful and smart and strong and all the things that you don't see about yourself. He sees that. And he tells you, who wouldn't want to be around somebody like that? The question is, can you see him seeing you? Does that make sense? Like, I know that this is how he feels about me. Okay, I know that. But do you notice him feeling that about you? Okay? Like, think about who he is. Okay? Think about who he is and like the kind of person that he is to you and to other people. He's the same guy who was the only person to speak to a shunned woman, like the Samaritan this morning in the gospel. Like, nobody wants to talk to her. She's shunned. She's got a taboo. Like, she's got a big red flag over her. And he stops to speak to her. And he's not embarrassed. He doesn't care about the rumors. Okay? The woman in the crowd who touched him. Okay? There's a crowd of people, like thousands of people, and he sees you. Okay? You don't go unnoticed to him. He sees you. Okay? There are 100 people there, more beautiful and more good or spiritual or whatever, and more like in tune with their relationship with him, and better servants and deacons and whatever. And in that crowd of people, he sees you. And in that crowd of people, he notices you. And in that crowd of people, your eye is the one that he's trying to catch. Okay? Think about when they were going to stone the woman who was caught in adultery. Okay? He stood up for her. He stood up for her. She was wrong. Like, yeah, I mean, they were, very judgmental and all that stuff, but did she do something wrong? Yeah, she did. Like, she screwed up. But he defended her. Okay? That's him to you. He's your defender. Okay? You screw up and he says, well, and then he defends you. Even though you're wrong, even though you've made mistakes, even though you are in the wrong here, he defends you. That's who he is, because he loves you. Like, you can tell me anything negative about my husband. Whatever you tell me, my first reaction will be defense, because I know him. I don't care what you're telling me. My first instinct will be to rush to his defense, because nobody is going to say anything against him, because I love him. It's the same thing. He loves you. He rushes to your defense. He notices you in a crowd. When nobody else wants to talk to you, he wants to talk to you. That's him. Because he sees you. He sees like what you are and what you'll become, and he sees the good in you, and he sees the best about you. But do you see him seeing you? That's the question. It's not a question of how he feels about you. It's a question of what you see, what you're looking for. He makes you feel better about yourself when you're with him. So be with him. Okay? If we're going to talk about actual tactics to learn how to fall in love with him, we're going to talk about actual like day-to-day things that you're going to change to be with him. The first one is be with him. Okay? When you start dating somebody, okay, I mean, pandemic aside, like outside of the current situation, when you start dating somebody, you only know that you want to go deeper into the relationship when you spend time with that person. And each individual encounter is better than the one before it. And each individual encounter draws you in closer. It's the same with him. How can you expect to fall in love with him if you won't go on dates with him, if you won't spend time with him? How can he make you feel better about yourself and make you see how he sees you if you don't spend time with him? Schedule dates. Like, schedule it. Set an alarm on your phone, on your clock. Change your schedule. Wake up at, if you're not working, like, whatever time that you, earlier than you would normally wake up. Like, spend time with him. Give him the opportunity to show you how he sees you. Give him that opportunity, because it's not like he doesn't want it. He's waiting for you. You're the rate limiting. You're the one who's not ready to be in a relationship. He's been ready, but he's waiting for you. But how can you expect to fall in love with him if you don't spend time with him? Everybody wants to be in love, okay? Everybody wants to be pursued. Everyone wants to feel like they're worth being pursued. Everybody, okay? Even though it should be the other way around, he is trying to pursue you. And like, when you think about that, it is like out of this world. Like, it's counterintuitive and illogical that he is pursuing you, but that in and of itself is a reflection of how much he loves you. Okay? That in and of itself, the fact that he would deem you good enough to be pursued, knowing who he is, that is a manifestation of his love in and of itself. Okay, when I finally started to see Rami for who he was, like, I always joke with him, like, I wish you married somebody nicer and, like, somebody who's calm and not bananas and not crazy, because you deserve like the best. You deserve, like, you got shafted here, and like that, like, Rami's pursuit of me, like, from a human perspective, is mind-boggling, because, like, what are you, crazy? Like, and that is like a small, like, fraction of the analogy that it should be with him, that he is pursuing you. He is trying to get you to notice him. He is trying to get you to just look at him. He's doing that because he picks you. He would defend you. He would save you. He would never neglect you. He would notice you in a crowd of 1,000 people. Why? Because he loves you. He loves you so much. Like, he loves you enough to do anything for you. What are the fish? The fish in St. Peter's example, where the boat was filled with fish. What are those fish that he gave you? Because he loves you. What is the gesture? What is, like, the mother-in-law's fever? What is that to you? What is it that he did to you, for you, to show you how he feels about you? Because there is no question, okay? He is, like, he has stars in his eyes for you, okay? And if you look at 1 John, we love him because he first loved us. Isn't that at least a starting point? Knowing how much he loves you and how much he wants to do for you and how much he's waiting for you to just look at him. He's just waiting for you to just start the relationship. Isn't that a starting point? I would encourage you, if we're going to do this, okay, and we're going to take this challenge on seriously, that you be strategic, okay? think about in the context of a worldly relationship. If there's somebody who's invested and somebody who has like put effort into showing you that they want this to be more, and you don't make yourself available for that person, how's this going to go? Like, what are you expecting of that person if you don't make yourself available? So make yourself available. Arguably, depending on your job, you've never been more available. Arguably, him trying to find an opportunity to talk to you, this could be the opportunity. Set time to be with him. Reciprocate his efforts towards you. And do it like somebody who's falling in love. Okay? Think about if you've ever, been in a relationship or not, if you've watched movies, whatever, when people are in a relationship, think about two people who are just starting to fall in love. Within boundaries, obviously, the more time they spend together, the more they want to spend. Okay? Like you leave a date and then the person texts you on your way to the car, assuming that this is a mature relationship and there's no games being played. And you get excited about that. Because even though you've just left each other, you wish you didn't have to. And in a normal relationship, you have to set boundaries, like reasonable, logical boundaries. But here, you don't. So when I tell you to attack, and last week, I used that term specifically, attack, because this is something that you need to do, like, not aggressively, but like aggressively, okay? The flip side to that is doing it like somebody who's falling in love, somebody who just doesn't want to be away, somebody who like wants to maximize the amount of time that they have together as much as possible. Like, like the you hang up, no, you hang up, no, you hang up. Like that's what this should be. You run towards him, you reciprocate his efforts towards you like somebody who's falling in love. This concept of no breaks is going to keep coming because sometimes I feel like this is what holds us back. But if you stop being available to somebody, if somebody was all in and they did all these grand gestures for you and were starting to show you how they see you and how high they esteem you, and all of a sudden you stop responding, you stop making time for them, you stop responding to their requests to hang out with you, how's that going to go? How does that make the other person feel? Unwanted? Reasonably so. So why would you do it here? For somebody that has been pursuing you your whole life, somebody that has been trying to get your attention your whole life, why would you do it here? Why would you need a break from falling in love? So our challenges for this week, I hope, okay, are these 4, okay? To prepare, I don't want to say prepare, it makes it sound like homework, but to frame your perspective for next week, okay? What I want us to do this week, and myself included, is to focus on these challenges, okay? So first, look for his gestures, okay? Look for what he's trying to do, the one-liners that he's trying to drop you if you're into subtle, or the grand gestures that he's trying to do if he's trying to make a statement and you're not getting it, okay? Look for them, okay? Keep that on the forefront of your mind, because when they happen, then you'll see them, okay? Like this is a section from the verse that we talked about at the very beginning, where you shall bind them as a sign on your hand and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Like this is a reflection of having something constantly on your mind, right? Like when you're in a new relationship, they're constantly on your mind. You're constantly checking your phone to see if they've messaged or to see if they've reached out or something. This is what it should be. You should be constantly checking your phone to see if he's messaged. Constantly looking for him to see where he is. What's he trying to tell you? Is he reaching out? Is he trying to say something? Is he trying to get you to notice him? If you're not looking for them, you're going to miss them the way we have been missing them for our whole lives. And then the next thing is to schedule time with him, regular and frequent, okay? Give him the opportunity to make you fall in love with him, okay? Give him the opportunity to show you how he feels about you and how he sees you, okay? I'm a big fan, I'm a type a big fan of schedules and checkboxes and alarms on the phone and things that are like pre-planned in advance so that like nothing derails you. Okay, so do it, be purposeful about it. Hi, Millie. Sorry. And then, okay, meditate on his love for you. Okay, remember the things that he's done for you. Remember the gestures. Remember the fish. What are your fish? Okay, what are the fish that he gave you to show you that he wants to be with you? Okay, remember those things, the kind things, the amazing things, the generous things, the merciful things, the things that he saved you from, the things that he gave you that you didn't deserve. Remember those things and remind yourself that he's doing this because he loves you. Isn't that a starting point for a relationship? Somebody who would do anything for you just because you are you. And then find his gestures, okay? Identify them, okay? Like spell them out, write them down, okay? I used to not be a fan of journaling and all that stuff, and I don't still journal, but write them down. Because when you write them down, then they're on your mind. Then they're there. Then that's something that you're thinking about. It's something tangible that you can flip back to and look at, okay? Write them down. Okay, so that's it for this week. Any questions, any concerns, any challenges, any tips? Okay, looks good, everybody.
Tips and challenges. Just on what you were saying at the end, or actually in the middle, you were saying, you know, it took you like till the end or like a while to actually love or be in love with God. You know, I feel like a lot of people, especially amongst anyone, all their life, or especially the beginning, I guess, of their life, they're questioning, or they're not actually, they're doing it by obedience, like you said, or superficially. But that's what we're called to do too, is, you know, you do it superficially, you believe it until, or fake it till you make it type of thing, or at least try. And it was really nice what you said is like, why not give attention to someone who wants to give attention to you? You know, I was actually just telling that to my mom this morning. I was saying, like, out of my friends, for example, like I focus on those who focus on me. You know what I mean? So like, it makes sense because they're not the ones that are going to leave. Like, they're not the ones that are not going to call you back. Like those people, they want to call you back. When you're chasing the wrong things, they're not focused. But you know, God is focused on us. So that was really good.
Sarah, I loved what you said, and I love the framework that you used, especially the analogy with kind of our current or our just general relationships. I remember an analogy that really stuck with me, because that's kind of how it felt when I first started with my journey with God, is at first, especially like when there's nothing major that grabs you yet and you're not seeing all the signs yet, is that, like, especially that spending that time and making that commitment to spend that time with him, it's kind of like, you know, medicine. You know it's good for you. Tastes horrible, but you know it's good for you. And you know, you might not know how it works, but it's good for you. But then eventually, the more you spend time, the more, like you said, he makes you feel good. It, you know, it's kind of becomes more like oatmeal. You know, tastes okay. You know, not for everyone, I know, but you know, it's good for you. You still know it's good for you. Definitely better than medicine, but not something you know, like go for all the time. And then eventually, as your relationship grows and you spend more time with him and you really, really taste the sweetness, you know, no pun intended in this case, it tastes like fruit. something that you like and enjoy and tastes amazing, and you'll choose to have because you know how good it tastes. So that always kind of reminds me, when it doesn't always taste like fruit, because not always, but most of the time in that kind of, as you're further along in that relationship.
And that we're gonna, later on in the series, we're gonna get to that. So
sorry.
No, that's okay. It sets it up perfectly. So next week we're gonna talk about when you're in the relationship. This was just getting into the relationship. Next week is when you're in the relationship, and the one after that is your first fight, or things are not so sweet.
I love how real this is. Thank you.
See, I was a little anxious about it. We'll see.
Thank you, Sarah. It's honestly great, and I'm really excited for the rest of the series and how we're gonna go about the next 3 weeks. If you guys have any more questions, or if there's any suggestions that you want to give us, please feel free to email us at onroute@smsv.ca. We're in the series for 3 more weeks, same time. We start here at 11:30. We end at around 12:30, or sometime around there. And hope everyone has a great rest of the Sunday. And if you're celebrating your moms, have a great celebration. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody,
Thanks, Sarah.
for joining.